have started. Halló allir, Gísli hérna. Nú að fara yfir fyrirlestur Azure Security Center og Azure Sentinel með Sasha Kranjac. Did I pronounce that right? Sasha Kranjac?
Okay.
Yeah. Hann ætlar að fara yfir þetta með okkur og þetta svona milli 45 til 60 mínútur eftir hvort það kom einhverjar spurningar. Þannig að ég ætla bara að leyfa honum Sasha að byrja. Sasha, welcome to this lesson and giving us the time to go through this. I will just give you the torch and you can just start.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, thank you and welcome for being here, and welcome to Azure Security Center and Azure Sentinel weather together. Of course, 45-60 minutes is not nearly enough to cover everything, but at least this session is supposed to give you a heads up or head start about what it is, and there's a lot, although the Security Center has been here a lot more than the Azure Sentinel was. A lot of people either don't use it or don't use it as they should, and so on. So if nothing else, the session was supposed to intrigue you a little bit more and encourage you to implement some features and to maybe take a second look in what you've already seen before. So there's a lot more than in 45 minutes. Usually I teach the Sentinel in 3, 4, 5 days, and then there's really a lot to do there in Security Center as well. But let's stop. Let's go through a few slides and then let's take a look at the live environment. So okay, need to switch the focus. All right. So my name is Sasha, and I'm doing cloud security. Well, I'm doing cloud and security, and have been working with Windows since version 3.0, somewhere near the early 90s and late 80s, and I'm an Azure MVP as well, and as well as MCT regional lead and certified EC Council instructor, etc. So here's my Twitter handle, and so you can also get in touch if you'd like. But first of all, just a few things. Microsoft is actually collecting a huge amount of data, so a billion here and million there, and so on. So especially I've just picked one slide, and that is the Microsoft Intelligence Security Graph. What's the point? The point is to say that there's a lot of data, and if you've been doing some machine learning, and if you're not, I strongly suggest that you do a project, because there's a free machine learning project on the web that you can do, which gives you the tremendous insight of the power of actually the algorithms, mathematics, and the huge amount of data. The point is here that Microsoft is collecting a huge amount of data, and in machine learning, the bigger the set of the data and the vast amount of data that you have, the results going to be more correct, and predictions will be more toward the 100%. So at this time, they're collecting a huge amount of data, so login data and every kind of data. So not just our data as users, but also the other data, telemetry from Windows, from Office, from every kind of service that they have, emails analyzed. So what I'm talking is because there's, as you go through, and probably you already noticed that some information and some crucial points, for example, impossible travel is available and can be seen here and there. So in conditional access, in Active Directory, in Security Center, and Sentinel. So the point is that here we have a fundamental one joint base of data that Microsoft is leveraging and that is using to analyze and to give you the better understanding of what we are doing here today. So, and what you're gonna encounter in your infrastructure. So, by analyzing this and by analyzing the same amount of data but with the different algorithms, you can get a different insight, and therefore different products can derive different insights from all the data that you have. So in this case, we will have there is the Azure Sentinel and there's the Azure Security Center. Both they don't have, of course, since they're two different products, they don't target the same thing, but in rather they complement each other. And by complementing each other, it means that these are provide better protection. And as you analyze, for example, the a simple file life cycle or a bad people attack chain, each of the products that we have today on the market actually focuses on just one piece of that attack chain and on one particular point in document or identity lifecycle. And today we need much more sophisticated tools to protect ourselves than we had before. So you might have heard or worked with Internet Security and Acceleration Server or TMG, Threat Management Gateway. These tools were okay when we were on-prem, and when we didn't have the cloud and actually when we didn't work outside. Today, when we enforce and try to implement zero trust strategy, it meaning that we trust no one and check for everything, whether it's illegitimate on every side. We need more sophisticated tools. And why? Because the amount of data raises exponentially. So there's only cloud-powered tools that can help us with that. So no human can cope with the large amount of data first, because there is so vast amount of data that we need to deal with. And the second, because we need to correlate between different set of data, and that is very hard, because if we have gazillions of data points, then finding small nuances between them is or connections is very hard. So that's why we have machine learning and artificial intelligence powered things like Defender, Azure Security Center, and Sentinel, that each of cover a specific part of the security landscape. So, for example, SIEM integration here, as for example, as you can see from Azure Sentinel spans and different tools, and also there's the Graph Security API that we've seen before as well. And this is just one example where this is expanded. But the typical problems with the Security Operations Center in today spans the different products, different tools, different time spans, different points in time where we actually have to apply the security. And our poor SOC analyst here has a very hard time. So we need to watch for identities, networks, and everything. And it's harder than before, because with the standard tools we cannot control our data anymore, because we have also third-party and cloud data that resides not inside our tenant or infrastructure, but rather outside. For example, Dropbox or Mega or Salesforce. So we have different tools for that. And of course we need some AI powered or centrally powered tools that can help us throughout the whole landscape. So, for example, the Sentinel and the Azure Security Center gives us the protection, for example, for and security overview of the infrastructure. But the Azure Sentinel can give us the insight of the security posture, not just in infrastructure, but on other tools and other products as well. So we can then have multiple alerts and even same alerts on multiple places, but that we can apply and engage on leverage to find out a little bit more. So, for example, Sentinel can analyze and by power of artificial intelligence, of course, some things that are out of the ordinary and correlate seemingly uncorrelated events. So, for example, one brute force attack there, and then a few attempts, login attempts here, and some unusual patterns there. Actually, might not be 3 or 4 separate attacks, but actually different phases of one attack that has one outcome or one target. So this is where actually we need to have multiple tools and use them as much as we can. So here is the Sentinel that is practically the security SOAR, or security orchestration, automation, and remediation tool that leverages the machine learning and so on. And that is in fact has the broader view of everything, while Azure Security Center here actually helps us with the infrastructure itself. We then have other tools as well that we don't mention today, like Cloud App Security, that deals with the shadow IT and third-party cloud applications as well. But that is tightly connected and integrated with both Azure Sentinel and Security Center and other things as well, like Defender or ATP. So, but we are here focusing on these two tools. Well, we have Azure Security Center that can identify and protect. So we can assess our risk and assess our compliance and implement the different protections. And then we have Azure Sentinel. So on the other hand, there can detect and respond and recover. So all these tools, for example, these two products or tools that we have actually are intertwined as everything intertwined there. And specifically, they target the different phases. For example, identification and protection for a Azure Security Center in this case, while the Azure Sentinel has these phases in mind. So security visibility in Azure actually. Here you can see the tighter integration of the intelligent security graph and the events and the Azure Monitor actually and logging and the Azure Security Center and SIEM. That means that the Azure Sentinel or some third party. So we have Azure Security Center that actually is tailored to protect our infrastructure, but not only in Azure, but in other clouds as well. So it can protect the Amazon clouds as well and Google clouds as well, and different from it can give us the threat intelligence information, detection of anomalies, and behavior analytics, and also Fusion that also is a part of the Sentinel too. You can see, well, you will see afterwards that Sentinel is actually also a great tool that has a lot of different connectors that can ingest and analyze a lot of different data and correlate between different events. Then we have a security architecture of the Security Center that is practically a capability that Security Center is no longer as it was before at the beginning, a Azure only product, but it's the product that can, as I mentioned before, look after different tenants, different subscriptions, different Azure environments, and AWS or Amazon Web Services and Google Cloud Platform solutions or projects too. So once on one side we have events, we have different sources that provide us the data, and then we have AI, and then we have the Azure Security Center that gathers all the data and recommends gives us the security recommendations and also prioritize security alerts. So few characteristics, and then we will skip onto the console itself. So strengthening of the security posture. Well, today I would like that the Azure Security Center has all of the security features available in one place, and Microsoft is going toward that. But security is not only just pulling levers and pressing buttons. It is also the security. The security is also achieved through the secure architecture as well. But since if we have architected something, then we will also have the recommendations in Azure Security Center. Still, it's not 100%. I mean, for example, if we have there are security tools and levers and switches and settings that we need to go directly onto the resource, for example, onto the database or to the network to set up. We still have very good coverage of all the things, security related things and recommendations in Azure Security Center. So probably we won't check off all of them from the list, but if nothing else, we see the overall security posture of that particular environment, and then actually we can go from there. So we have the first stop, and then a very good stop, that's the Azure Security Center, that gives us the very good overall security posture analysis and overview, and then we can then go and drill from there. Of course, we need to have we need to know a little bit more than just what Azure Security gives us, but it's a very good start. We can then review the coverage across different subscriptions and see also not just security recommendations, but also the governance information as well, and security policy management, track and review these policies over time. Then we will see and get the insights. We will actually this is the one good thing that this is the part of the free tier, since we have also the paid tier in Security Center, and that's the Azure Defender. We will see that as well. And then this provides us the security across all the infrastructure, and we will also have the possibility to see the and visualize these configuration, and actually have a clickable, actionable dashboard of all the environment. So it's easier. This reminds me of Nmap. If you work with Nmap, this is the similar visualization map as you get with Nmap. So it's very good, and you can also click on all of these machines that can expand or network topologies, and then you can see the different configuration. And of course, if there are some exclamation marks, and then you can also drill into that and filter them, of course, at the security health level. And then there's also recommended controls that we have, and that we can see at one place, and of course we'll see afterwards in live dashboard, and as well as improve the security by configuring these recommended controls. And we will say more of these when we will get to the console as well. But we will have we have file integrity monitoring, which actually Security Center gives us the information about the files and registry entries of the operating system, and eventually validates their integrity and informs us about any anomalies in there, as well as the adaptive application controls, which is actually control where a specific application is running. So for example, if the calculator.exe is running typically in the Windows folder, then if the same executable of the same name and extension runs from somewhere else, this is something suspicious, for example. And we can also help harden these virtual machines or applications throughout all the environment. And then we have the threat intelligence in here that actually helps with the different parts. We have Windows Server, Windows Defender ATP protection here, and also the fusion-related events and some advanced analytics, which Azure Security Center shares with the Azure Sentinel as well. So these Defender ATP alerts are visible in Azure Security Center as well. We can also have a limitation of exposure of virtual machines to brute force attacks by implementing just-in-time. That's the part of the Azure Defender, and which is the actually tightening more security controls by changing the priorities of the network security group rules, but we will also get in there. And what's even better, we have automatic onboarding and extending to hybrid cloud as well. And that means that this is not just for cloud workload, but also for on-prem or non-cloud or other cloud workloads too. And these can integrate with existing workloads tools, which is also very, very important, because then the burden will be very much higher if we didn't have that. So streaming to Event Hub or integrating with or having some automation support. And lately also we have support for PowerShell commands and so on, as well as different automation tools, etc. And we have some Azure Sentinel capabilities, which is the capability to ingest data and from different data repositories, well, from the Azure Monitor from Log Analytics. That has been aggregated from different repositories. And then, of course, since we have the base set of ML and AI tools, this data can be then enriched with some intelligence. For example, the geolocation can be determined, or the IP reputation can be placed on it. So, for example, the IP reputation works dynamically. So if there's an outbreak, for example, from a specific IP addresses or ranges, then these IP addresses and ranges can have a specific reputation at that point of time, and then which is automatically then treated differently. Then we have also some other things that have been introduced during the last Ignite in September, which is the User Entity and Behavior Analytics, or UBA, or UIBA, which is actually where actually they are AI and ML algorithms show us the real power of it, and that is the analytics of entities. And entities can be identities or IP addresses or virtual machines and so on. And which is also very important. We can then, once we analyze these threats, we can investigate and hunt for some suspicious activities. For example, before, when we didn't have these tools, we wouldn't know that, for example, some a rogue admin or anyone from inside have accessed the large amount of data during off hours, and which is out of the baseline for that specific user, for example, which usually works from 9 to 5, and that the data has been exfiltrated. So by the time we find out that, from 6 to 12 months can pass, or even more, or maybe we can't even find that. But even if we find that, usually when we find that, then it's too late. But by analyzing this and having the machine learning and artificial intelligence telling us and correlating these events, then we can say, okay, this is something unusual. This is something that we there's a light lit up, and this is something that we can correlate on and follow up. So, for example, we can find out which users have been gone rogue, for example, which systems have been accessed, which tools have been used, which commands have been executed, and which data have been accessed, and not and all this information will come to us not in 6 months or 12 months, but in a day or two, or even less. So, or even if it's a week, it's much less than 6 months. That is the usually minimum of the detection type for some bad guys or bad people doing on internally. So in this case, most of the connectors have 24 hours of refresh time, some even less. And then if we incorporate some automation tools, then we can very quickly respond to these threats. And so these answers of these actually Sentinel and Security Center answer the traditional security operational challenges, for example, and security skills or deployment maintenance, high volume of noise alerts, and sophistication. So we do have that Azure Sentinel that is actually helping us here. So that's why we have here the tools that can help us, and the Sentinel, I hope that haven't changed, but I think that still we can bring our Office 365 data for free in there, and the integration with existing tools is very easy. So we can also see and collect the data from all sources across the enterprise, and even from the outside. And the connectors here have been coming and from for third-party solutions as well. So from time to time there is a connector that pops in. So it's Microsoft has been adding more and more connectors over time, which is very good. And also these machine learning models are getting better and better. So the bigger the data set, the machine learning models can predict with more certainty and with more accuracy what's going on in there. So the Azure Sentinel architecture is also built on like we've seen before. We have a log, and then these logs are analyzed, and then we have some information based on that. And what is the Azure Security Center and especially Azure Sentinel is built on, and all the events and are based on the attack framework and on the knowledge base. So when you go to the Azure Security Center, there's also the preview of the new page that looks very similarly, and I like it very much. That like the Azure Sentinel's one, and then it gives you the separation of events according to the attack matrix, major attack matrix for enterprises. So, like for example, like initial access or execution or persistence, etc., etc. So we can easier easier filter out the events and actually have them categorized. And what is more important, there's no big setup, infrastructure setup with maintenance, so we can just set it up and running with few clicks. And yes, of course, we pay what we use, but then we will see what we pay actually, really right now. And once we've generated some events, and then we can also investigate further. But like this slide says, enough slides and demo, please. All right, so let's go and see what we have. First, let's take a look at the Azure Security Center, and which is right here, where it is. There it is, Azure, and come on. Oh yeah, there it is. Security Center, we've talked about this. So we have, first of all, there's a brand new dashboard, an overview page where we can see a few things. We can see the current number of subscriptions, some different accounts, for example, AWS accounts or GCP accounts, active recommendations and security alerts. Then there's the secure score where, and you've noticed that the secure score today is available throughout the Microsoft tools and products. We have secure score in the Compliance Center. We have secure in Office 365 in Microsoft 365 actually, and in Security Center, as well as in Azure and so on. So it's very nice because we need to have some number to correlate with yesterday and today with tomorrow, of course. Then the regulatory compliance and Azure Defender and inventory. So this is the overview of what we have. And then first of all, before you actually begin, you should go to pricing and settings, and then you will see your tenant root group, where you can see your subscriptions, and you can see the log analytics workspaces that you have. And then you have, of course, to turn it on. And if you have Defender off, then the continuous assessment and Azure Secure Score is available for free, of course. But if you turn Azure Defender on, then you have all these red axes became green tick marks, and then you have a just-in-time access, adaptive application controls that we've talked about, mentioned actually, regulatory compliance, threat protection, and so on. And all these tools are available. That you can see, of course, you can individually switch on and switch off all the plans, and by and the last two, Resource Manager and DNS, are in preview here. So we have the possibility also for auto provisioning, which is also very important. We can turn on the auto provisioning for extensions. I've deliberately turned off these because I want some alerts to be available and present in there. And then also we have the email notifications set up, and also the threat detection. As you can see, you can enable integrations with Cloud App Security in here and with Microsoft Defender. So for endpoints, we can also get these. As well, we can also automate some workflow. So if something happens in there, then do this and do that. We can automate these things, as well as configure continuous export to the Event Hub or to the Log Analytics workspace, and for these export data types for a specific configuration, export frequency, etc., etc. Then we have cloud connectors, but these connectors are actually the same as these here, and we can do we can connect the AWS account, we can connect the GCP account, and multiple of them. And of course, for the AWS, you have to connect. You have to create a new user, new identity, and give the appropriate permissions, as well as to the GCP account. You have to have, for GCP account, you have to have the Cloud Identity Premium. because Cloud Identity Premium in GCP supports the Google Security Center, and that only Identity Premium tier supports. So once you have a Security Center and Identity Premium, then you can connect the GCP account as well. And after 5 minutes to half an hour, then you can get your events streamed in here as well. Then you have of course, getting started is just a information about the covered subscriptions and resources, and the recommendations themselves actually can give us the important info, and that is the secure score and resource health. And what's even very nice, and you've probably seen this through the other tools as well, because we have a secure score. We have color coding, which is very important. Red is something that doesn't work, that is wrong, and green is okay. Orange, yellow are actually, in fact, various levels of something in between, and so on. And then you can see the potential score and unhealthy resources, so you can easily go through the specific control and see whether these controls have been completed, or if you have multiple sources, then you can go to quick fix, and then after seeing unhealthy resources, then you can just select all hundreds of them, for example, or in this case 3, and remediate for that. So you don't have to go to each and every and check whether this is enabled or set up. And then you have also very important information is the freshness interval. So this refreshes every 24 hours. Usually it pops in very early as you create resources. But sometimes it can take up to 24 hours to show up in here. But usually it shows very it shows very in shorter time. Then there is also we can trigger logic app if we have logic apps created, and which is also very important, we can exempt some tools, some virtual machines from being represented in here and protected. So if we have a particular reason, then if we ungroup by controls, we can see and sort by unhealthy resources, and we can see, of course, there they are, some AWS resources or Azure resources, or well, recommendations. And if I had a GCP resources here connected, then I would see also GCP accounts, GCP recommendations. So if we have multiple clouds, this is also very, very important, because we can deal with these at the same way as we deal with Azure resources. So and there is and this is quite impressive and comprehensive. This is not just that we have like 5 recommendations, but we have a very thorough security representation of everything in here. So for S3 buckets and so on and so on. So network security groups, etc., etc. So we can easily go in here and see the recommendation on healthy resources, remediation steps, and so on. We still don't have a thorough explanation as with the Azure resource, but we do have a link for documentation and to see to remediate that. So, for example, for the Azure resource, then of course we have some different information in there. What it's even better, the security alerts here actually show us, and there it is, preview available, new security alerts page in Azure Security Center is available. Try it now. I will try it now, and then I can see the events that are also shown in Sentinel. But if I click in here, then I will see the new page and the new experience, which is way better than the other. And here it is. it resembles very closely the experience in Azure Sentinel. And if you want to try it out, you don't have to do very much, but you have also, well, you can set up some your alerts as well and generate them. But if you don't have time, if you want just to try it out, you can see you can click here and generate some sample alerts. Of course, these are not clickable all the way through, but they actually provide very good information of what it is. So it clearly says that this is the sample alert, where we can also see the severity, the active status, and so on, and as well drill into the full details of it, where we can see the related host, we can see the sample app, what happened, source IP address, logins, and the executables fired here, and see the action. Or we can also trigger automatic response and suppress similar alerts and so on. So this is just a sample one. But if I go in here, so for example, I would see the failed SSH brute force attack, which is in fact the real one. And this brute force attack falls under the Mitre attack tactics, that is the pre-attack tactic, where I can see the full details. This in fact happened on a real machine that I've deployed, and for these accounts, and on this host, and following these this address. It happens that this address is in China, but we can then follow up and take next action, which is thoroughly explained, which is how can we mitigate the threat, and it's very useful. As well, we can see the inventory of what we have. We've seen that and follow up across all the resources. So AWS, GCP, Azure, and different subscriptions, different tenants, and etc. And then, of course, here we have in more detail secure score across the subscriptions, across the management groups. We have regulatory compliance, and which are the different tools. Different regulatory compliance are here available, which are actually the Azure Security Benchmark, ISO, and we can add different ones as well. And as well, we now have the path here, which is the Azure Defender, where we can see the coverage of the tools, and that is the vulnerability of the assessment, also the advanced protection, just-in-time access, what we've already seen some of these, and we can see the not configured virtual machines, and we can enable this just-in-time on this particular machine for this. For these ports, and for especially if I click in there, we can change the maximum request time. What it does actually, let me go quickly into the new tab. What it does, it actually opens so first of all, we have virtual machines, and we have the let's say this one, and we have connect here. So this machine doesn't have a. Let me check this one. This machine doesn't have just-in-time access available. So if I click download the RDP file, and I can successfully connect. But in fact, if I connect to this one has a just-in-time access policy enabled. So I have to request access, and the administrator needs to approve. And once the access is approved, I can see the the network configuration here set up. So in the case we have just-in-time access enabled, then we can see that these ports, like 3 RDP port, are denied. But when we enable just-in-time access, when we are approved, then the priority changes, and then this allow RDP port RDP rule actually becomes has the lower number, thus high priority, and then it changes. And which is also very important because we can automate these tools, and as well as through all the environments. But if we go in here, let's go and I broke the internet, the Azure. Have I? Come on. Ah, there it is. But let's take another few minutes and to go through the Azure Sentinel, and then of course answer some of the questions that you had. You can connect multiple log analytics workspaces, and you can stream from multiple, of course, also from multiple subscriptions. You need to have Azure Lighthouse to connect through different tenants, and you can separate streaming of the resources into the separate, of course, log analytics workspaces. But let's go and click into one. So what you have to pay here, you have to pay for the log analytics workspaces for the ingestion of the logs, and then also you have to pay for the logs that Azure Sentinel analyzes. So first thing, you should go to settings and then see the pricing. So you can see the data ingestion in the last month. And for example, currently I have the pay-as-you-go, but then you can go to settings and well, to the workspace analytics and see the workspace summary and see how you actually use this log and see actually the amount of data. So you will know actually how much it will cost. So for example, for this log analytics in the last 31 days, the price was there, so you can easily calculate the amount of data that you've ingested. Second thing, when you turn on the user entity and behavior analytics, then the workspace is locked for delete. Then you have to select data sources and select the existing data sources. These are the four that you want to enable for entity behavior analytics. So audit logs, Azure activity, and security events, etc. And after then, you're good to go. At the workspace, when you see the incidents, for example, then you'll see also all the incidents that have happened, and you also see the product names that from where they have originated. Let's change some time here to have more. So these have been originating from Azure Sentinel or from Microsoft Cloud App Discovery, which actually detected the impossible travel activity. And then we can also have the Cloud App Discovery again, and then there it is, Azure Defender, which is the failed SSH brute force attack, and Azure Security Center as well, and so on. So before you can see any incidents, you first need to fill it up with data connectors. It's very easy since you have, for example, to check only a few things. So you have to open a connector page. Then you see clearly the instructions and next steps. So you have prerequisites and the tick marks, and then the configuration. And usually these differ between the connectors. But when you are connected, then you have to go to the next steps and actually see the recommended workbooks and enable them as well, so you can investigate and hunt for anomalies in here. These connectors are various one, and there are a lot of different connectors, and there are of course some in preview. Let's say we have a Defender connectors, a lot of them, which are very few of them are in preview as well. Azure different connectors for Office 365, for example, which are then allow us to get the stream the logs to be analyzed for free, and so on. Once we've added these connectors, then we are able to hunt, and as well as to analyze the behavior of the specific entities. So, for example, when we click on hunting, then we have different queries that we can fire up, and we can see also the tactics under these queries fold. Why should we actually incorporate all these and use the Azure Sentinel and Azure Security Center and look for any kind of events? For example, I can run all queries. When I run these, I can immediately see them running and completing. As they run, I can see the results, and then from there go and run query and see the results for them in the log analytics workspace. I can see the results and of course investigate further from there. What happened? Then I can see the everything that was changed and that was actually done. That the specific hunt query turned on result for, and as well as for the entity behavior, I can see. Let's see the custom range. For example, that's me. Let's investigate what I have done. These are my events and alerts over time. I can see the alerts and activities timeline. I can investigate further, and also I can see the actions by account, what I've done. This is me, but I can easily investigate any user from multiple sources. I've also connected other clouds as well, and then do an investigation and see all the events correlated to me. In this case, impossible travel or multiple things that happened. For example, I can see the let's quickly see the impossible travel in here. So I was here. I can see that the user performed failed sign-in and activities from different countries. I can see which entities have been used in there, and I can get some better insights of what happened and so on. So, for example, let me see if I have one example here, and I can sample VM quickly. And since we are nearly finished, so let me click on the alert. If there is one, I can see the timeline, what happened, and I can see also some executable found running, for example, and then I can click on the event and see actually what happened and see the playbook, and that can be attached to that and run if I run into the similar events. And what else do we have? We have, then we have also the threat intelligence, which is in preview, and that is the preview of the suspicious domains and IP addresses and entities that can be added through different taxi servers. Well, there's a lot more to it, and I suppose that 45 or 50 minutes is really too little. But then let's go and take a quick questions that I got. So can I send the auth log to Sentinel from Linux servers? Yes, you can, and the authentication. Well, there's the data connector. Then you have syslog in here, and where's that? Okay, then is the then you have syslog, and then you can also open the connector page and connect the different different tools. So we can connect an install agent on Azure Linux virtual machine or a non-Azure Linux machine, and then configure the logs to be collected. And that's it. After we do that, then we have the next steps recommendations. So this is the Linux machines workbook, and then we can investigate these further. So no problem with connecting that. And there are some questions about stopping the Sentinel agent. How can we do that? Yes, of course we can. You can either kill it with a command kill, or you can, of course, you have to do sudo and systemctl, and then stop, and then the name of the service that you want to stop it, and so on. Can you query event log cleared on Linux systems? Well, yes, but that's a tricky one, because you can the events in Linux are actually collected in a file that can be deleted. But then if you configure it to do that from a root, then actually well, auditing cannot be stopped, but you can trigger the writing in the file before it's deleted, and then even if the admin deletes the file, you can then recover the file and then see that in fact the file was what someone did. So if that's the case, so so you have to audit for the users who do that. So yes, it can be done, but you have to use the kernel from 2.6 and up there. And of course, is there a limit on tenants that we can monitor in Windows? I think that's not the limit of the Sentinel itself. It's actually the limit of the Azure Lighthouse, and I'm not sure what the limit of the Azure Lighthouse is, because you have to have the Azure Lighthouse to monitor different tenants. So if these not belong to you, so if you're not owner of one. The playbooks, an example playbook to be able to minimize the work. Yes, there is. So the playbooks are in fact the playbooks are logic apps. So if you have a logic app in your subscription in here, for example, like in this one in demos. Then, regardless of the location, then you can see the logic app. For example, isolate Azure VM to NSG or MD8TP machine and get IP reputation. So you can pull up any logic app here. In fact, let me show you this one, Azure Sentinel, and let me open a different one. So Azure Sentinel on GitHub, so github.com/Azure/Azure-Sentinel has playbooks. So if you go here and click on playbook, there many playbooks, so commenting, close incident, etc., etc. There are pretty large number of playbooks. And for example, if you click on playbook, then there it is. There you can see what it is. And afterwards, you can also click here, deploy to Azure, and it's going to be deployed. So you can then easily take this playbook, this logic app, review and create, for example. And of course, I have to enter let's say put it here and review and create, and that's it. So it will be then available in here, so you can easily create your own from the scratch, or do this one, for example, import from GitHub and so on. And yes, minimizing alert fatigues is creating, you have always the filter here, which you can of course filter out, and also see the minimizing these can be done by just filter outing. I wouldn't want to not have the events here, but rather I would filter out and see only the critical ones. So I can see the status, the severity, and then show only high severity, and then out of 200 and something, then I can have only just more critical ones. So in this case, I think we've come to the end, and we're even a little bit over a minute over, I think. And hopefully this was interesting, and hopefully we had a chance. We'll have a chance to have more in more detail drill down on Azure Sentinel and see how it actually works on the real case scenario. No, just demos.
Thank you, Sasha, for this. This was very, very informative, and I can see that there are a lot of questions in the Q&A also. So I think we might just post these questions to you and maybe get some answers, or if we can just have a follow-up meetup on this one.
Yeah. Why not?
That would be great. I can see that people are very interested, and there are a lot of people attending. Actually, there are historical moments here. How many people are attending this? So
we can have both, actually. You can send me the questions, and then we can set up another meeting, and then we can have no slides, just going with the tenant. Yeah.
Yeah. So with that said, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
And thank you for giving us time. There is one question that is asked here that you might want to answer. You said that you were teaching this. Do you have do you teach this online, or do you have any courses that people can access?
I teach I teach in person and online. So, during this unfortunate pandemic, it's more online than in person. But I have no public or YouTube courses, but I do courses at the partners or companies or whatever. So for anyone who needs that, feel free to contact me. You have the Twitter, you have also the email and contact details, so no problem with that. Yeah.
So that's it. Thank you, and thank you for giving us the time.
Thanks a lot.
See you later.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.